Hello everybody. So today we're gonna travel to the distant ancient land of India. Fun trip, field trip, da 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 da. Okay, so why ancient land of India? Like, why this topic, right? Well, it's because we are all one, right? I mean, as in all beings and all humans, we are actually all one, but it's just we experience differently. So to diversify the experience, and as such, in a way, we are able to see into the different ways of living. Well, it's all about experiences. However, when it comes to any kind of history or when it comes to any kind of ancient knowledge, we are at a point to reviving them, right? We're at a point to seeing into the past, so to see into the future. And so when it comes to India, this piece of land does hold a lot of ancient knowledge and also a lot of ancient history. So why did I say the ancient land of India? It's because this is more of a geologically speaking or geographically speaking kind of a topic. Because what happened in the very, very ancient land, it does not necessarily have to be what it is, like directly related to what it is in India, current India today. However, of course, it has a very strong correlation there between them, between the history and also the current India in our modern society. So what are we going to cover? What are we going to talk about is the very root or very, I wouldn't say like very root, but there was a very beginning kind of in the prehistoric records right now that a lot of people would trace back to the Aryans, the Aryan civilization, and also the Indus Valley Civilization. That would be in the northern part of India. So it would be north and west of India, current India. And what it is about is that I'm going to give a brief context of what it is. So for the current findings, it is actually there was an excavation of an ancient site, which would then be now called the Indus Valley Civilization. The Indus Valley Civilization wasn't found until a decade, not a decade, like in the last century. So it was found within the last century. So it was very newly found, and they found certain, skeletons, in there, and also certain scriptures, and people, archaeologists, they would say, the interesting thing is this civilization, the scriptures that they had, or they had, or what the archaeologists found, was that there's not like something like a Rosetta Stone that can translate, or not even having ways to even trace back to how to even translate this language, or just say scriptures, because very, very possibly is that people at the time did not actually write Okay, they basically possibly like speak the language more than they write down things, and so it is kind of different from like ancient Egypt, the hieroglyphs kind of system. And so what they did was they tried to decode it, or they tried to translate it, and many of the linguists or say the archaeologists, they claim so far, they claim that the language has certain relation possibly to Dravidian language. So that would be the South Indian language system, related to Tamil, the language. So Tamil is one of the most ancient languages in the world, prehistorically speaking. So that is why it is not easy for people to decode or translate the scriptures as relating to the Indus Valley Civilization, because there is no reference. Okay, not even Tamil can be used to, in a way, to translate that scripture. So it remains to be kind of like a mystery right now. And yeah, okay. And a lot of Indians currently might associate themselves to Indus Valley Civilization as in that's their root, okay? And some of them would also associate themselves to Aryans. What is that sound? To Aryans. So, and let's look into it. Okay, let's look into what they are actually, the Aryans and the Indus Valley Civilization. Now, this is the part one that we will look into. Now, the second part that we will look into is the very popular, famous monument that is called Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal. So the white dome, the white little marshmallow thing, the white dome, the Taj Mahal, and it is actually near Delhi, New Delhi, in India, and it has growing controversy. Yeah, it has been quite controversial in a way, because recently people have been saying that, I mean, I think these two decades, not even just these 2 decades, maybe since the 1970s, 80s, people have been finding certain kind of mysterious things, or like traces that there is indeed something else below the Taj Mahal, and people, many of them claim that, or say assume that it is a Shiva temple. So it's like a Hindu god in a way. However, what's built on top is actually, which is the Taj Mahal that we see today, is a Mongol architecture or structure that is built by Shah Jahan in the 18th century. 18th century, I think it's the early 18th century or late 17th century or something. Yeah. So 1650s onwards kind of thing. Yeah. And the issue there, so to speak, is that this could get political, because the people can be very sensitive when it comes to their belief system, right? So not only then, when it's only their belief system, but also when it comes to religious belief system, this could get even more sensitive. Because this is something that people believe in. This is something that they wrap their lives around, right? So this could be very touchy when it comes to cultures being interwoven together in a way that involves certain conflicts in the past and also current conflicts in a way. So that is why religion or say religious beliefs, when being placed in such a situation, i.e. the Taj Mahal and the Shiva, potentially a Shiva temple below, could really affect the political situation or how people react to each other, okay, interculturally. That's what we're going to explore for the second part. Now, so that being said, let's go into the first part. That would be the Indus Valley Civilization and the Aryans. The Indus Valley Civilization is actually a place where it was wiped out. It was wiped out as certain archaeologists have found certain evidence, archaeological evidence, artifacts, that there are many of those skeletons, you know, the remains that they found are in the positions of being being I wouldn't say it's being killed, but it's more of they lied on the ground and also in positions and also in places that are not supposed to be tombs. Okay, so it is kind of like they are just being spread out all over the place on a particular, you know, situation that is unknown to archaeologists, and they are, so it would then turn into an assumption that it is actually something like a massacre. Okay, something like a massacre. That's the assumption. And so that civilization, Indus Valley Civilization, was actually being wiped out by a natural disaster. Okay, but in a way, when we say something is natural disaster, it doesn't have to be natural. It can also be man-made, but there is certain elements of nature involved in it, or say the natural things of it, of how it works behind this entire event. So there are certain foundings by the archaeologists that they found certain radiation in that site, that ancient site. That is what they supposed to be something like a nuclear weapon, okay, at that time. And in fact, there is certain records being recorded in the ancient Indian scriptures, or say literature, that is called the Mahabharata, and also Ramayana. Yeah, so there are certain incidents that it's mentioned as basically like bombs, okay, but now that they kind of find the link, they were like, oh, is it actually like a bomb being dropped onto this site, onto this Indus Valley civilization, and that's why the entire civilization got wiped out. It's because of that, and that is also why we would find a radiation on the site. That's what the archaeologists, not the archaeologists, I think, but certain people would think of it this way. Okay, but it's still kind of like a mystery. So, from my own understanding, okay, I'm talking about from my own understanding, is that Indus Valley civilization is being wiped out by a certain natural disaster. And this natural disaster is not just it doesn't only happen to, it didn't, time is not linear. Excuse me for the tenses. So this civilization was wiped out by a natural disaster that also happened to many other ancient civilizations over the globe. And that would be associated with the Great Flood. Okay, that's what we heard, right? Even from the Bible, we heard about the Great Flood. Okay, and I mean, if we link it to the Noah's Ark, that's a great flood, right? That's a flood. And so why did this flood happen? There are many, be it journalists or archaeologists, they would assume, some of them assume it was because of like tectonic plates, movement. Some assume that it could be because of cosmic interference. So something like a comet, dropped in and caused certain tectonic plates to move, and so volcanic eruption and stuff, and that would then cause the water to flood, to have all of this sea level rising. Now, however, there's a thing that instead of having comets, and that could be a possibility, right? But from another perspective, that we can see, it can come from the inner Earth, right? It can come from the inner core of the Earth that would be underground. And so for Indus Valley Civilization, that the wiping out of it is because of this natural disaster. But it's not only about, how should I say? It's not just simply a natural disaster, but it could also be orchestrated in a way. It's like half-half. So it's like natural disaster would be the result of something being put into action, and that is why the sea level rising and also any kind of nuclear or radiation would be the result of it. So since Earth actually has different vortexes, so that would be the energy points where they would use to, they, as in who am I referring to? Like ancient, our ancestors know, our ancestors knew that there are different kinds of energy points that we can receive energies, okay, to charge up many things. And so in this case would be having a lot of ley lines, okay, on the Earth. So like a grid work, okay, grid work, like a hashtag, kind of like a hashtag, okay, grid work of the entire Earth. There are lots of grid lines. So all of these grid lines are actually energy. We can see it as like an energetic web, energetic grid, or say grid work. Grid lines that would be used to link certain energetic structures together, or say forming different energetic structures. And so when any kind of these grid lines are distorted or disrupted, then that would also result in certain geological adjustments or results or changes. So that could be another possibility of what happened, of the tectonic plates moving, right? So it is related to energy. And when it comes to the radiation or the nuclear thing back in the old days, so to speak, it was the flooding, right? It was the flooding. But what caused the flooding? I mentioned it was like somehow like a comet, right? Some people suggested that it could be like a comet thing and caused certain rising of the sea level. And now we're going to go into something like a mythology thing, but it is actually just some Earth history. The Atlantis, yes, Atlantis. Plato, in fact, from ancient Greece, right? He actually mentioned it, Atlantis. And the thing about Atlantis is the reason why that flood happened, the Great Flood. The fall of Atlantis was actually in somewhere in the, how should I say, like the off coast of Bermuda, like near, not near Bermuda Triangle, but like the off coast of that is in off coast of the east coast of US, okay, but in the lower part. I think it's near, yeah. So it's near the border of Mexico. That's where it is, off coast of it. That's where Atlantis was situated. However, due to certain technological advancement at that time getting out of control. Okay, so basically what I mean by out of control is the losing the balance between love and technology. So, or say, losing the balance between the feminine, divine feminine energy and the divine masculine energy, or in another way of saying it is that losing that balance between the heart and the mind. Okay, so when it comes to only having technological advancement without love, then that would be, people would be very prone to intellectual thinking or using the mind only, okay, most of the time, and losing kind of like a contact, in touch with the heart. That would be love in a way, okay, in a way of speaking this. And so this then results in in an out of control situation. And so it caused the entire Atlantis, which was very, very much technologically advanced, much more advanced than we are today, to fall apart. Or in another way of saying it is because it gets destroyed. Okay, it has to be destroyed. It has to be destroyed because if not, they're gonna blow up the entire planet. So it has to be destroyed in a way, but it was kind of like, it's not something that is like done purposefully in order to eliminate. It was more of a natural result due to karma. Okay, so it's like whatever, it's like the actions that they put forth would then be the things that what they would receive is the result of to their own actions. So it is karma. It is karma. So that is why I said it is a natural disaster, but at the same time, it could also it also has the element of man-made, or say actions taken by mankind. And so this is the reason why the sea level rises so much. It was because there was a huge explosion in Atlantis, and this entire, I wanted to say city, but it's not really a city, but it's like this entire place fell apart. And it is because of this explosion is so huge that it disrupts the entire pole of the planet, the pole of the planet. That is why our planet, right, Earth, is tilted. the pole, or the pole, P-O-L-E, North Pole to South Pole, right? Originally it was not like that. It was not, so to speak. It was not. So it was not like that. So it got tilted. What does it mean? It means an imbalance. It literally means an imbalance. The tilt caused. The tilt is actually more towards the right side. I mean, of course, I know direction doesn't really matter in this case, but it's more towards the right side, meaning it's more, there's a kind of like a contraction, symbolizing the contraction of the masculine energy. Contraction means lower frequency, right? The more contracting something is, it means it's lower in vibration. So it is like a downfall of mankind, as suggested in the Bible, okay? The downfall of mankind. That would be Adam, right? And Eve being, get out of here, get out of here, get out of Eden, right? But not in this sense that they're being actually, how should I say? Like being abandoned by God. Is not in this sense. What it's saying is actually because they did something, which is karma in a sense, right? They committed so-called sin, the sin. But it's actually not a sin. It's simply, metaphysically speaking, they lose contact with their heart, okay? And so it is something that's over time because of the three-dimensional construct and also of the density here, okay? Scientifically speaking, that it is not easy for them to have that balance, to maintain that balance between the heart and the mind, and so it takes time. It takes time to rebalance that, and that's what we are doing here now, like us. Okay, we're doing here now to rebalance that. Okay, and so this entire incident, the explosion of Atlantis, was so huge that caused this great flood. This story of great flood, in fact, we can find the records in folklores all over the globe. In Africa, in Indonesia, China, South America, okay, all kinds of ancient tribes or cultures have such a record in the distant past, okay? That actually talks about this great flood. So you can then imagine how great this flood is, right? However, how could it be linked to India, Indus Valley Civilization? It's because this entire instance, this entire event, actually has a polar effect. It has a polar effect when it comes to India and this side of the globe. So when you look on the globe, on Earth, okay, they are actually in a way connected. If you like put like an entire straight line through that side of the world to that side of the world, okay, they are actually in a way kind of connected, but I wouldn't say it's like you really have to cut it into like a lateral vision of seeing it, but it's more on a grid line sense that it has this effect. So if we can see it in a more, on an even more metaphysical sense, it is kind of like a wormhole. A wormhole, okay? Like one side of it is Atlantis. The other side of it is zoop, that would be ancient India, the Indus Valley Civilization. So I know it sounds really weird, yeah? It is, and it's gonna get even more weird from here. What happened is that now we're gonna get into something sounds like a really interesting story to listen to, because it's not gonna go linear from now. It involves certain time and space that would cause this incident to seem super unrelated, but it is actually related. Atlantis, now if I speak this on a linear fashion, now buckle up your seatbelt, okay? Now it's not gonna make so much sense, but let's just listen as a story and see if it makes sense for you. Okay? On a linear fashion timeline, if we're speaking in this way, Atlantis seems to be a distant past, right? What I said, oh, it was there, it was what happened there, right? It seems to be in the past. However, now I'm telling you that, from my own understanding, everything I have been saying about this for many times, that everything is actually happening at the same time, right? Everything is happening at the same time. There's not really past or future, there's only present. But it's only because of our experience here on Earth, everything gets slower. That's why we have the perception of the past, present, and future. Okay? So, excuse me, because I'm trying to make it make sense in order to deliver this. This entire incident in Atlantis, it actually happened in the future. Atlantis is our future. Where we are currently, if we speak from a linear time frame, it is the future of Earth. Atlantis is the future of Earth, if we speak linearly, okay? Ancient India and ancient Egypt, ancient India, ancient Egypt, these are actually the past. In a sense, the past to Atlantis. The past of Atlantis is ancient Egypt and ancient India. Okay, in a sense. So it's actually like a wormhole. Okay, so that incident that happened in Atlantis, say it's the future, right? It disrupts the entire grid line of Earth. Not only that, it disrupts the atomic base. Now this is gonna get metaphysical, really metaphysically. It disrupts the entire atomic structure in a way. Because it's radiation, you see, it's radiation, it's nuclear fission. It's nuclear energy, but it's even more powerful than that. So it is a nuclear fission, in a sense. And it disrupts the atomic structure so huge that particular part, that particular timeline or time and space, there's a wormhole transformed. There's a wormhole created and transformed that situation, or say transfer that situation into the past, which is ancient India and ancient Egypt. Yes, that is why many people now started to say that it is after the Great Flood, it is after the fall of Atlantis, those who survived You can search it on Google, okay? Those who survived would then go to Egypt or India, okay, or South America to rebuild the civilization. All right? Right, that is not what I said. It's actually being said by a lot of people. They assume that this is what happened, or say this is the case. And so, if we see it from a linear time frame, we would say, because of the fall of Atlantis, so our ancestors, those ancient ones who survived the huge explosion, would then go to other places on the globe, okay, to revive or to stay alive, to revive, okay, because it caused a lot of destruction to the planet, and not only that, to many individuals. And that's how Earth got trapped in a way. Why is it trapped? Because before the destruction, Earth is straight, right? Earth is straight, like the pole, right? It's straight. It's not tilted. It's not tilted in this way. It's not tilted, the poles. This allows the planet to receive the energy. Just as how we, from the crown chakra, we receive energy from the cosmos through the spine, right? The spine. And that is also one reason why people have scoliosis. It is because scoliosis has no known cause. You can't really find a known cause. Not medically speaking, no. Scientists and the medical field, they can't really explain how scoliosis really happened. But that is actually, from an energetic point of view, yes, that's how it happened. Because of the tilting of Earth would cause certain other manifestations as a ripple effect from that particular tilt. Then scoliosis would be one reason, would be one of the results. The spine in each individual. So why? Because we are not receiving the energy from the cosmos in a straight way. Okay, so naturally it could become tilted like that, the spine. Now, not only to the people on this planet, but what it means when Adam and Eve being abandoned from the Garden of Eden, it also symbolizes that they are being cut off from source. Right? They are being cut off from source because in Eden, the Garden of Eden, they have all they need. Everything. Food, right? Anything. They don't need to worry about a thing. But then after they left that place, they're being abandoned, so to speak, out of that place, they have to grow their own food. Right? What does it mean here? It actually means they're being cut off from source. Source. Everything comes from source. That is the ultimate infinite energy. The source, okay, where we all come from, where we are all from, and also receive the energy from source. So when Earth is not able to receive this energy, it's being cut off from receiving the very juice that is needed to sustain this planet and the people on here. That is why it's like a trap. It's like a prison. Some people would describe it this way, because you you can't really get out. You can't get out because you're being cut off from source. Like you can't go home. You're unable to go home because of this. Not because God abandons us. No, I'm trying to make it make sense. It's not in this way. It's a much more complex but also actually very simple thing in the understanding of this. I'm hoping this is making sense for you. If it is making sense, please give it a thumbs up. And so let's keep going. The wormhole. As we all know, the wormhole is a structure where you would be able to travel from one universe to another universe, right? And you go through it, the wormhole. And this is exactly what happened to Atlantis at that time, from one universe being sucked into another universe because of the atomic structure being distorted. And in this case, it's about electron. Okay, the electron, there's one more electron being added to it. That's why it would be sucked into another universe, a parallel universe. It is a parallel universe, but of course the entire story would be different. Okay, so this is what happened. They're being sucked into another universe. It's a parallel version of it. It's a parallel universe of it, okay, but it does not have the same reality as the one before. And it's all because of the changing of the structure of the atomic structure, okay? It's because of that. And so when they've been sucked into that parallel universe of a different reality, that is ancient Egypt and ancient India and all the ancient Aztec. Okay, this is what happened. So that is why when we talk about Atlantis, it feels so long, so distant, and it doesn't feel real. Because it actually is from, if we put it into this sense to understand it, is more of a parallel universe reality. We are related to that. However, we are now trying to rebalance it, right? We're trying to rebalance what happened in the future by traveling back in the past. Does it make sense? Okay, now let's keep going. I thought I was gonna just talk about ancient India, but now let's go with the flow, okay? I'm gonna talk a little bit about ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, after that thing, after the Atlantis incident happened, right? This time and space that we're then being relocated. Not that we actually want it to happen like that, right? But then now that we're here, they have to find ways to reconnect with source. They have to find ways to reconnect. So that's what happened in ancient Egypt. That's what happened. In ancient Egypt, they tried to set up different, the systems. Those who survived, or those who are the knowledge keeper, they set up the pyramids, societal structure, to start building civilizations again. And that's also the same in India, right? However, let's just put it this way. I'm not gonna, it's too hard to explain what happened in Indus Valley Civilization, but I'm just gonna put it in this way, but I'm just gonna wrap that part up. It is more of a time and space thing, but we'll get into that again, because I have to mention the Aryans. Okay. Let's go into ancient Egypt now. The time is like, okay? I'm just gonna go with the flow. So ancient Egypt. ancient Egypt, the pyramids, a lot of the people would say, oh, it's a tomb, right? There's like the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, and so and so. It is the tomb. But in fact, they would not, they can't really find any kind of remains of the king or kings in it. So is it actually a tomb? Not really. Not really. It's not a tomb. It is actually a structure to receive energy from the cosmos. That's why it's like this. It's actually receiving energy from the tip of it, and you can actually see that the tip is a little bit different than the rest of the structure, the materials. That particular thing on top of the pyramid is I remember it was gold. I think it was gold that they used, but it's more than that. It's not just gold. A lot of the elements that were there, it was, we don't necessarily can find them now. The elements, okay, come on. I mean, I'm just gonna put it straight. We got downgraded. The planet, the structure. When I say we, is the structure, the construct got downgraded. Not in a negative sense, okay? It's just the construct. It got downgraded. So that is why all kinds of matters would then be aligned to that particular vibration that Earth was shifted into. Okay, from a higher dimensional vibration to a lower dimensional vibration, and so everything would become more carbon-based, and not crystalline. So, okay, now in ancient Egypt, very early on, I'm like talking about the very, very beginning of it, they constructed systems trying to reconnect with source, because they need to. They know the ancient ones, so to speak, from Atlantis. They know they have to rebuild this, and now I'm gonna link this to programming, because now we understand. It would be much easier for us to understand this. If in programming, you have an outcome, okay, you have an outcome. There is a certain way of the outcome that is not favorable, okay, for the programmers. What would you do? Right? What would the programmers do? You're not gonna change the outcome. You're gonna go back to the programming, the fundamentals of it, or the basic structure of the programming, and then keep going. You're gonna make adjustment here, right? You're not gonna make adjustment at the outcome. No, because whatever the outcome is because of what happened here, the programming, right? Is it? Okay, so similarly, Atlantis is a result. It's an outcome. All right? Atlantis is in the future. Atlantis is an outcome, and so it was not a favorable result, right? Then what they did, or say what the ancestors did, is that they would then trace back to the past to rewrite the programmings in order to reach a certain more favorable outcome. Does it make sense? I hope it's making sense. So say Atlantis is the future, right? Now, ancient Egypt is here. Because there's a lot of time and space like weaving, so it's like I'm also trying to lay down like, okay, which one is which one is which. So let's just treat this like a journal, like a journal for me or for you to listen to if you're interested in this. This is Atlantis. If you see it on a linear time frame, okay, this is Atlantis in the future. Now this one is ancient Egypt. Where are we? Where are we? we are actually here. Isn't it fun? We're actually kind of here. We're kind of here. But now I'm talking about on a linear fashion though. I'm talking about more of a linear fashion. So that's why I also want to switch it up. It doesn't have to be we're actually here. We can also be in between ancient Egypt and Atlantis. But the reason that I'm like, it doesn't really matter is because time is actually not linear. It is actually much better to see it in a spiral. You see that? Like a spiral. So imagine there's a spiral here, right? Spiral. You can see it? Spiral. On one side of the spiral, like now, this is the first spiral. This point is T2. Say it's called T2. Okay, T2 is ancient Egypt. Okay, ancient Egypt. Now, keep going. It was like this, right? Now, ancient Egypt, now, spiral again. This is T1. T1, time 1, it means time. Time point, time 1, T1. T1 is now, where we are at now, current point of time. You see, T1 and T2 are actually vertically related. It is a spiral, and that is also known what is that spiral? If we pull that curve straight, it is linear. Does it make sense? If you pull this curve straight, it is linear, and that's how we see time. However, now we see it in a more spiral structure. Okay, so T2 is here, ancient Egypt, T1 is here, and it's being linked by a spiral. However, on a vertical point of view, they are actually linked vertically. So what does it mean? It basically means that we are now at the same point of where ancient Egypt was as a time frame, as a structure in itself, okay? If you see it like this. So that is also why I said it doesn't really matter who comes first or not, because it's actually, now imagine the spiral, right? Time. What if you condense it? You know, you collapse that spiral. It was like this, right? Spiraling upwards, collapse. It's all happening at the same time. T1 is T2. T1, T2, right? Collapse, T1 equals T2. So that's why I said it doesn't really matter, because everything is happening at the same time. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's also important in a sense for us to understand how this is happening on a linear fashion, so then we can understand the spiral. You know, if you stretch this curve, is a straight line, it's linear. That's how we usually perceive it. All right. So that's why I'm saying the time and space, it could be really interwoven together, and it's not easy for us to perceive the way if we speak it from a linear sense when it comes to time. All right. So I think it's making sense, right? It's making sense. So ancient Egypt, they are trying to reconnect with source through the pyramids. You can find a lot of the people, or say archaeologists, they have found great structures beneath or say inside the pyramid. They found certain huge granite, I think it's granite stones, granite, the materials, black blocks, huge, like maybe like 33 tons, if I don't remember it wrong, of that. And they were like, how could they even do that? Because even when it comes to modern technology, we can't even do it. Like, it's so hard to do it. And judging by, like, how could they even logistically speaking, how could they even transport this? It's just too heavy, and it can't even be handcrafted because it's so perfect. Everything is so precise. That is why they can't really fathom, like how they do it, right? Then now they've come to a point then suggesting that there must be a very advanced kind of technology, only then they would be able to do it. However, after the as it goes on, the dynasty in ancient Egypt, they lose contact with this kind of technology because it's another fall. It's another fall. So what is this fall? The fall is losing that that connection with source. Okay, but there are also other reasons behind it. However, let's just stay here. So what it is that they realized how this entire construct has been disrupted. Okay, and sorry, the background noise is actually, I'm trying to focus. My family member. Give me a moment.